NicknLex here. Thank you so much for joining me to another episode of Music with Nick. Today we're gonna discover, or actually you guys are gonna discover some Allan Holdsworth, and I'm basically gonna re-listen to one of my favorite tracks. This track is very different from his usual instrumental work because it basically doesn't really have a theme to it. It's more like a solo and a drum solo being played at the same time. Very crazy stuff, very unusual guitar language. I love the tone here, very reminiscent of Jeff Beck, I think. That's the only one that I can compare him tone-wise, I think, and I've just discovered Jeff Beck in the last couple of months thanks to B-Mac and RG and Greybeard and a couple of other people who have requested songs, and of course of the unfortunate passing of the maestro himself. What a huge loss. I mean, in 2017, I think it was 2017, it was one of the worst days of my life when Allan Holdsworth passed away, because it was just shattering to say, okay, the last CD that I heard, that's the last, you know, and we'll never have someone like him ever again. And it's so funny that I compare them because they play nothing alike, but they wear guitar. They change the language of the guitar, like what Jeff Beck does with the tremolo bar and the way he plays and just the way he phrases certain things, and just like the way he uses volume and swelling and delay and all that stuff. It's just the guitar tone of Jeff Beck is very unique. Technique wise, it's very different from Allan Holdsworth. Allan Holdsworth does plays other scales, more open, like it's just very complex to the ear. A lot of people can't get into it. It's too weird, and it took me a while. It honestly took me a long time to understand. I still don't really understand what he's doing, you know. There's a great YouTuber. I don't know his name right now, but I will put his information in the comment section or in the description. And he basically deciphered Allan Holdsworth, and he basically transcribed almost all of his solos. I think all of his solos. So he knows what he's doing theory-wise, which is just so complex to the ear. But I guess once you dive into the theory aspect of things, then you kind of like, oh, this is what made him tick. So it's very different. But I think both of them were extraordinary guitar players, and just two that really had an amazing impact on the guitar world and guitar players. And most of the time when I read an article about Allan Holdsworth, it's like it's a guitarist's guitarist, you know. It's more like usually people don't listen to this music. It's more like the guitar players that listen to that kind of music, you know. And it's funny that Holdsworth's music is more inspired by horn players. So he was inspired by, you know, trumpet players and sax players and so forth. But he didn't have that instrument. So he's basically, well, this is the tool that I had to learn music and to express myself. So that's basically what I'm using, but I don't really like the guitar as an instrument. He has said that in various instruments, so it's crazy. He started out on the guitar and he was like, well, now it's kind of like too late to go back, you know. But that also gives him that unique tone, and he looked for a specific tone that doesn't sound like a distorted guitar. It sounds more like like a sax or some kind of wind instrument. So but enough of that. I'm just gonna play you the song. It's called "The Drums Were Yellow." This is from the 2000. It's from the 2000. The 16 Men of Tain, which is right here. You see it right up there where the Allan Holdsworth book is. It's right up there, right there. That's the CD. Thank you so much. I think it was Tony, or it was either Tony or Michelle who sent me this CD. Thank you so much again. It's one of my favorite CDs of all time. Thank you so much. But I can't remember because I don't have it written down. I would have to watch the video. But I want to thank you both for all your amazing contributions, and most of the stuff you see in the back is of course donated by either Tony, Michelle, Rudy, and so many others that I can't, mark. Um, I can't even count. So thank you so much again for all your wonderful gifts, and it's just like I have no words to, but to thank you. So okay, here it goes. This is The Drums Were Yellow from 16 Men of Tain, and enjoy. Have an open mind. It is different. It is very different music, but it's very beautiful, and it's very. And what I like to hear, a lot of people, it's like, oh, he's just playing random notes, but he's not. If you really listen, he is talking. He is telling a tale. It's a language that he uses, because if you just listen to the scales, they're not random. It's amazing improvisation, and it makes a lot of sense once you listen closely. And it could be distracting that there is a drum solo going on at the same time that he's taking his guitar solo, but just give it a chance. Like I said, this takes multiple and multiple listens to fully get immersed, but once you get it, you're in for a treat. So here we go with The Drums Were Yellow, and I hope you enjoy. Of course, I've heard this many times, so this is just a re-listen for me. It's not a reaction, but it would blow my mind. All right. Tension there, I love it. Into the rhythm the guitar was in. Solo. So this chord. Man, I mean, yeah, different level, totally different. I just love this last chord because it doesn't, it's so unexpected from the note that he finished on. Um, and I mean, yes, it's a lot. It's a lot to take in. It's very fast. Um, and yes, it could be maybe interpreted, oh God, he was just like noodling around, but I assure you he was not. This is all intentional. And the cool thing about this song is if you hear this live, he's never going to play it the same again. It's always improvised, even on his records. And it's just fantastic. Those arpeggios, those beautiful lines, and it doesn't sound scaly at all. It doesn't sound like a random like bunch of scales. It's really sounds like a language, and it's very expressive. I mean, every time it gets me every time. It's just so good. But I mean, like I said, it's not for everyone. Not everyone can be an Allan Holdsworth fan. But I mean, I'm just like, I like to put it out there. I think for me, he was one of the best musicians who ever graced the guitar. But that's just me personally. There is a enormous fan base of Allan Holdsworth, and I've met some really interesting people through him, and just people that like his music are into like some weird shit, you know. So I love that. So it's just I think a little bit more outside the box, outside the norm, and it's not music. It's music literally to sit down and listen, you know. It's not music that to drive your car to and be all relaxed. It's like it's you have to analyze and you have to. It's yeah, it's jazz fusion with a kick. You know, it's I think it's a great tribute to guitar. I'm sorry, like guys like John Coltrane, Miles Davis. They were very out there. That was very hard. Their music was hard to digest. It was kind of like, okay, I guess, oh, that's what he's doing here. Okay, cool. And like that, that kind of stuff. But I just love it, But I do love a lot other guitar players as well. There's so many, and Jeff Beck has just been added to the list of favorites. But I've always been into kind of like the fusion guys, Greg Howe and Frank Gambale and Pat Metheny, um, Aldi Meola. I started with Aldi Meola and worked my way up, to Allan Holdsworth. But in between, there's also these great guys like Brett Garsed and Richard Hallaby, Greg Howe, Richie Kotzen. Um, yeah, and I mean, but also going back, I mean, I love guitar players like Mark Knopfler, David Gilmour. I'm barely getting into Hendrix. I never had, I don't know, I just didn't have the time or the interest to listen to Hendrix because I just thought I'm listening to stuff that's so much newer and, it was just like not available. I didn't have Spotify back in 1998, and stuff like that, So it's a process, but I'm so happy that I'm getting to know all these amazing guitar players, Stevie Ray Vaughan, which was not my thing at all when I first heard it. I was like, okay, what's so special? But then when you look into it and you listen and you accept the difference, then you get it. Gary Moore, guitar players, like Chicago's guitar player who's a genius. Oh my God, I just don't remember his name right now. Kath, I think. Um, and just like, bands like Thin Lizzy, their guitar players. I mean, Gary Moore was one of them, but there's so much good. I mean, Steve Hackett is just one of my favorite guitar players now. He's just so amazing. I mean, Alex Lifeson. Come on, man. Hugely inspired by Alan Holdsworth, by the way. I mean, there's so many people that are inspired by Alan Holdsworth. Eddie Van Halen was one. Joe Satriani was one. Guthrie is another one. Brett Garsett is another one. Ingrid Malmsteen was inspired. Most of the guitar players that you listen to are probably inspired by Alan Holdsworth in some way or form. Um, Even John McLaughlin was like, I don't know what he's doing, but if I would knew, if I could, I would steal it. That's what he said, because he's like, I have no idea what you. I like, I have no idea what he's doing. Like, I wish I don't know if because McLaughlin is such a master, but he was impressed. And Frank Zappa said he's one of the most interesting guys I've ever heard. You know, I mean, Frank Zappa knows his stuff. And there's just so many stories out there of Holdsworth. Now, sadly, he never got the the recognition he really deserved, and yeah, that's basically what happened. There is a following, but he never broke out like Santana or like other guys that we listen to. You know, real success, Eric Clapton, or you know, just like the Jimmy Page, like the creme de la creme of guitar players, um, and that maybe don't play like that, but have other styles that have just impacted a lot of the world of rock and jazz and blues. But well, enough about this. I hope you did enjoy. Let me know what you think. Is it your is it something you get into now? Of course, I literally picked one of the most intense songs, of course. I would never play this to Alexia. I play her the commercial Holdsworth. There's even some singing involved and stuff, but it is not the same. But let me know what you think, and thank you for listening. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.